listening to Pyro Media Network, setting radios ablaze since 2017.
Well, hello and welcome back to Coffee with Kim. Yes, Coffee with Kim, the podcast. So this is the time where you can sit back, relax with your coffee, your tea, or whatever you may have in your cup and just enjoy the conversation. So let's go ahead and get into it. So today, my topic, I don't know, I struggled with it just a bit because I felt like maybe it won't be too popular. But I think it'll be helpful. I do. I think it's going to be helpful for some of my sisters. And today I just want to reach out. Well, let me first start by saying that, yes, I am a married woman, been married for about 38 years now, going on 39. And it hasn't been a cakewalk. Yes. Am I happy that I'm married? I am. I definitely love my husband. He means the world to me. Have we always been blissfully in love and have had the relationship that we have now? Heck no. You know, we got married really young and had a family really young and started all that adulting stuff at a very early age. And so a lot of it, we really didn't know what we were doing. 38, 40 years ago, you didn't have all this good information that you have out there now. Now we have great books and we have websites and we have people who are educated in marriage and family therapy and counseling. And we have pastors who talk about things beyond the pulpit. There's a lot to offer married people now, or even people who are considering getting married. It's a lot out there now. I will say that. My husband and I, we do premarital counseling, we do marital counseling, we do individual counseling for people who are struggling in areas of their life, particularly in their marriages or in their relationships. And so, relationships are not easy. They're a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. And so, when you go into a relationship, you shouldn't go into it, without any consideration for the other person and even for yourself. So today, it brings me to my topic. And I know most people would say, well, why don't you talk about why I should get married, or why did I get married? I don't want to talk about that. I want to help some folks out because sometimes we talk about why we should do things, and what are the 10 steps to doing certain things, and how we can help people do it right. But today I want to talk just a little bit about why I should not get married. Yeah, I said it. Why I should not get married. And that may sound really strange coming from a married woman who is happily married, who has been happily married for some time now, who has been married for over 38 years. That really does sound strange coming from someone in that position. But really, it's not strange. It's really not strange because I'll be honest with you. And my husband and I have had this conversation, so it's no secret to him. But we were 20 we were 20 years old. Well, I was 20 years old when we got married. He was 22. We were way too young. We were way too young to be getting married. But let me say this. That is what our generation was doing at the time. Our generation was getting married at a very early age during that time. And even our parents before then, they were getting married even earlier, So in the early 80s, 20 and 21 and 22, that wasn't really a young age for people to get married. People were actually getting married at that time, but unfortunately, many of them are divorced. Many of them are separated. We had some friends at that time, around the time we were getting married, or we did get married, and they got married too. And quite a few of them, I must say, I hate to say it, but they're no longer married to that person. They may be remarried to someone else and maybe doing very well, maybe happy and successful. But quite a few of our counterparts who were married at that time are not necessarily married to the very first person they married. And that's no judgment. I'm not judging them because, trust me, my husband and I remained married, but for the grace of God and for a lot of hard work that we put into doing the work to remain married, working through our issues and our problems and our situations, and really taking the time to get to know each other how we thought we knew each other, but really learning each other. And not just learning about each other, but learning about ourselves. We had to grow up. We had to grow up quick because we were thinking, hey, if we're going to remain in this marriage, if we're going to stay married, we got to get it together. And so that's a whole different podcast. And we will deal with that at another time. But today I would just want to share some things with some of you out there who may be considering getting married, and maybe you're not even quite sure why you want to get married. It just seems like something fun, or maybe you're lonely, or maybe you just want a partner in your life. And I get that and I understand it. But I just want to share with you a few things that may help you. Not that you should never get married, but why you should consider waiting and preparing yourself and getting yourself together before you join yourself to another person. Okay? So first, let me just say that I have been talking to quite a few people, quite a few single people who are Christian people, and we kind of, we're kind of going back and forth about how Paul talks about being single as a gift in 1 Corinthians in the 7th chapter. And so he describes it as being a gift because you don't have all the struggles, you don't have all the things to be concerned with. But then he goes on to say, but if you are burning, then you should marry, and I really don't think people understand that real concept, because I think there are quite a few people in this world who have gotten married because they were burning. And when I say burning, I mean, needing to have sex. And it's funny because, when you're dating and you're going out and you're with somebody and, you're trying to do things a certain way, having sex is something that is that you want to do all the time, and I've talked to people who've gotten married after being with a person for a good length of time, and they get married and they're just like, I'm busy, we're starting to have kids, and the sex is not as frequent as maybe it was when we were dating. And that is very common for a lot of married people. You just get into being married, you get into the day-to-days of life and all of that. And sometimes if you're not careful, and I say that with caution, if you're not careful, you will become neglectful of your partner. You'll be neglectful of that person that you love, that you cherish, and that you vow to spend the rest of your life with. And, we should continue to desire each other and have great, relationships with each other and great sex. And really, even in that, just sharing with each other what each of us needs, being able to say to our partner, this is what I need, and this is how often I need it, and really trying to be there for your partner to meet that need. So that's not where I'm going tonight. But where I am going is why I should not get married. What are some reasons I should not get married? What are some reasons a person should not take that vow to be with the person for the rest of their life? Well, let me just get started by saying that I have been talking to quite a few people who are single and, struggling in that area. And they're saying, I don't feel like singleness is a gift for me. And I get that. I understand why people would say that if you're thinking about marriage in terms of sex. But of course, we know that there's a lot that goes to marriage or goes in marriage besides sex. Okay. So today I want to talk about matters that are not necessarily connected to sexual matters concerning being single. I want to talk about the emotional and the social matters that people may deal with as it relates to being married or committing yourself to someone, other stuff besides the sex, besides that part of the physical relationship. I want to talk to that thing. So first, let me just say, sometimes we think that marriage is going to be the solution to all of our problems. And it is not. It is not. Marriage is not the solution to all of your problems. It's not the solution to your financial problems. It's not the solution to your emotional problems. It's not even the solution to all your sexual struggles, because I once heard somebody say, you could be happy horizontally and miserable vertically. So, meaning, hey, we could be having great sex, a great relationship when we're in the bed, but once we get out of the bed and we're dealing with our day-to-day things, then the relationship may not be so good. And getting married is not it's not the answer to your spiritual problems as well. We if you are a Christian, we should be seeking to grow in God on our own, not that we're connected to another person, but we should just be seeking to grow in God even before we connect ourselves to another person. As a matter of fact, if you're not careful, actually entering into a marriage will cause more problems if you're struggling in any of these areas. So we should not think that marriage is the solution to these things that we talked about, the financial, the emotional, the sexual struggles, even the spiritual things. It may cause you to struggle even more because you weren't really quite ready for marriage. Marriage is an opportunity to grow by facing new problems that you didn't have as a single person. You may grow in other ways, but if you haven't handled the issues that are the problems that you were dealing with as a single person, then you're just inviting more problems into the marriage. Let me say this. marriage is not just about what you can get, but really it is very much about what you can give. Besides being a parent, being a mom or a dad, marriage is one of the most sacrificial relationships that you will ever enter into in your whole life, honestly. You're always going to work. Marriage is always work. You work 24/7, and you can't really be a selfish person if you're going to be a married person. Marriage is not about what you can get, but it really is about what are you bringing to the table besides your cute self. If you stay married long enough, you will change, So bringing just your cuteness, your fineness, your great body, all of that to a marriage is not enough, because trust me, you will change. Physically, you will change. You won't look the same. You won't think the same. You won't even behave the same as you did when you first started out. Marriage is not for selfish people. Really, think about it. It is really about what you bring to the table. And I'm not just talking about you, but of course your partner as well. Both of you need to be bringing something to the table. Sometimes you may have to give up time. You may have to share your money. You may have to put some dreams on the back burner for the good of the marriage. If it's not the right time for certain things, you definitely gonna give up some personal space, because you just can't be married and always want to be by yourself. It's just not a good place for people who are selfish, who don't want to share. You don't want to share your money, your emotions, your thoughts, your life. When you connect yourself to a person like that, you're going to be sharing your whole self. Now, let me back up here and say this. It does not mean that you won't have some personal goals for yourself. It doesn't even mean that you won't even have some personal time set aside for yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. But marriage is really, it's not for people who are not ready to share. Yeah, you got to be ready to share.
You're listening to Pyro Media Network, where voices are ignited and stories blaze to life. We're not just another network. We're a passionate community dedicated to amplifying unheard voices and sparking meaningful conversations. At Pyro Media Network, we believe in the power of storytelling to educate, provoke thought, and uplift our audience. Our talented creatives craft shows that resonate, entertain, and leave a lasting impact. Be part of our community where your voice matters. Whether you're craving fresh perspectives, seeking inspiration, or longing for a space where your voice is heard, Pyro Media Network is your destination. Visit Pyro Media Network today and experience the spark of something extraordinary. Subscribe, engage, and be part of the conversation that matters. Pyro Media Network, where every voice finds its flame.
Let me also say that marriage is not for people who are not ready to be exclusive. Okay? And exclusive, let me give you a definition of exclusive. Excluding or not admitting other things or people. So yeah, if you're not ready to give up the dating scene, you're not ready to give up all your little, friends that you may have had in the past, then marriage is not what you need right now. It should be something that you reconsider if you're not ready to be an exclusive person. Marriage is not for people who don't like to apologize or forgive, because you're going to do a lot of apologizing and a lot of forgiving. And I say that because, when you marry another human being, that's the thing. That person is another human being. And that means that they are flawed just like you are, that they're going to make mistakes just like you are. They may even do some things that may hurt you, and as you may do the same, regarding them. But let me say this. If you are a person who does not like to apologize, and if you're not a very forgiving person, yeah, marriage may not be a good place for you, because that is something you're going to be doing quite a bit of. And you need to. You're going to have to be in that open space where you can say, hey, I apologize. I was wrong. I didn't mean to hurt you. Or if that person has hurt you, or they've done something, that was unbecoming, and you're upset about it, you need to be able to forgive and talk about it, work it out and move forward. So yeah, marriage is not really for people who are not big on forgiving and apologizing. Now, don't let me say this too. We're not all perfect when we come into marriage in apologizing and forgiving. So don't get me wrong, but it is a place where some of us do have to grow. But if that's something that you just, you're not with, I'm not with the apologizing or the forgiving, then you won't be very successful, because the first time something comes, or happens, you're going to be ready to go. You're going to be ready to say, that's it. You hurt me. This happened and I'm over it. I'm out. But you have to be willing, depending on what it is. Now, we're not going to get into all those, particular things, but, you're going to have to be open to say, hey, this person is human. They made a mistake. They made a bad decision, and we're going to work our way through this. Marriage is not for people who are not already financially stable. That one may sting a little bit, because, we may think that, well, we'll just we don't have very much. Each of us don't have very much. I've heard people say this, okay? Neither one of us have very much. We're going to put what we have together and we're just going to make it work. Okay, that works in some regards. Don't get me wrong. That does work in some regards. But if you are, what I say, not financially stable, meaning you have very poor credit, you have very poor spending habits, you have more debt than you have income, your finances are all over the place, then that is an area of your life that you may want to start working on before you join yourself, your finances, and your credit to someone else. And you want to make sure that that person that you are getting married to has their thing together as well. Before you start joining accounts and joining credits and starting to purchase homes and cars and just things, you want to make sure that you are both on the same page as it relates to finances, that you have the same ideas and ideals when it comes to finances and credit. And if that's an issue for you, that's a place that, you're not doing so well, you want to be honest with that person that you're even considering marrying, saying, hey, this is my credit. This is what I'm working on. I'm really trying to do better. And maybe they can even help you in that area. Okay. Let me say this too. Marriage is not for people who are unhappy or discontented with being single. that's not why you get married, because you're just unhappy with being single. No. You want to join yourself to another person when you are happy with who you are right now. You got to be happy with you, every part of you, the single you, all of that. You got to be happy with you before you connect yourself with somebody else. And when I say content, you want to be content. It means like being in a state of peaceful happiness concerning you, not worrying about what people think about you, or not, letting your past, the things that maybe you've done in the past, or whatever type of situations you may have had going on in the past, keep you down, or, not, if you have issues with anxiety and depression, working on that part of you, before you join yourself to another person. It's just really important that we really work on ourselves, that we get us together. I can be honest and say, I know for sure I was not prepared to be somebody's wife when I got married. I grew into it. Yeah, I did. I grew into it. But I was so insecure with me. I was so insecure. And here's the thing. My husband was not insecure. He was not. He was very secure in who he was. And I remember really being upset with him about his security, about him liking who he was, all parts of himself, but I didn't. And so I remember feeling a way about that, and I remember being angry with him, secretly angry with him, when he was okay with who he was. I had to grow to learn to love me. I had to grow to learn to accept me as I was created, the Kim that God created. I had to grow into her. I had to grow into loving her and appreciating her, and taking up for her, and treating her, well, and loving her. I had to grow to love myself. And so that might be an area that you struggle with. You may not love yourself the way you should. You may have some mental health issues that you need to work on. You may have some depression and or anger issues, anxiety. You may have some of those issues that that you're dealing with right now. I would suggest that you don't bring that to the table right now. I would suggest that you start working on you, getting you together. Hey, therapy, a good friend, if you have a mentor, if you have a pastor, a parent, just folks that you can talk to, someone that you can share, what's going on with you, and maybe get some help. That's what I think. I don't think you should get married if you're looking for another person to make you happy. Another person cannot make you happy. Happiness has to come from within. It has to be something that is on the inside of you already. And I'm not saying that we're always happy, we're always joyful, we're always glee. But I'm saying that if we are happy, then that's something that comes from within. It's not something that another person can give you. We need to find our happiness from within. We got to be content with ourselves. We got to be content whether we're with another person or not. Loving on ourselves and being okay with who we are. And not just being, okay with who we are if we need to make changes, but being willing to make changes, but loving yourself in that process. Loving yourself in the process of working on you. That's huge. You got to still love you, even though everything is not what that you want it to be. but I still love me, and I still love me in this process of working on me. Marriage is not for people who are emotionally immature. Now, that's just plain and simple. You're emotionally immature, you're still very childlike. You're still a person that holds grudges, and, like we said earlier, you don't like to apologize. Your communication skills are subpar. You don't communicate. You don't know how to communicate very well. Maybe you got some anger issues, or you can't handle change, or you're not willing to make changes. Those are all signs of emotional immaturity, and marriage is not a good place for a person who's emotionally immature. We should be maturing, finding a maturity about ourselves before we go attaching ourselves to someone else. Let me say this, and I'm probably going to bring this to a close here. But one of the things, or the last thing, or one of the most important things, marriage is not for people who are still carrying baggage from the past. Yeah, I want to take it slow right here. If we're carrying a lot of baggage, childhood traumas, things that happened to us, and we're still not really healed from those things, we're still not really healed from past relationships and those types of traumas, marriage is really not a good, healthy place for a person who is still dealing with their stuff. You're still dealing with your baggage, still dealing with your traumas, you're still mad at the last guy, then marriage is probably not a good place for you. Because that new person is probably gonna, catch all the hell concerning, what you're going through. So it's good to go ahead and get that help, to go ahead and seek out, counseling and therapy, things like that. I even mentioned, mentors, and I mentioned good friends, and I mentioned a pastor, people like that you can at least start the process with working on you. But if you're still dealing with a lot of trauma from the past, childhood, if you have, poor relationship with your parents, not so good relationship with your siblings, these are all things that we have to work on before we attach ourselves. And then those things become that person's problem too. So they're not only dealing with their own stuff, but now they're dealing with your stuff. And they're not only dealing with, where we're trying to get to know each other and trying to grow and learn each other in a new relationship, but now they're trying to figure out, why is she so angry, or why is he so angry? Why is it that sometimes, they're loving toward me, and then sometimes they're very indifferent toward me? Why is it that they're, we don't have the same values? I am very respectful of my elders, and this person is not. Well, maybe that person had such a terrible relationship with their parents that respecting elders is just not something that they can do. It's not a good idea to get married if you're still dealing with your baggage. And it's even worse if you're unwilling to get the help. You got to be willing to do the work. You got to be willing to get the help. You got to be willing to admit that there are some issues there and some problems there that you need to work on. So I said all of that to say that if you don't deal with all of this, the marriage will suffer. The marriage will suffer. So I think we have to change our perspective on singleness being a gift. I think singleness is a gift for some people because it now gives you an opportunity to work on some areas of your life that are not really ready for a committed relationship. So even though I know this was probably hard for some people to hear, and maybe you don't agree with what I'm saying. Maybe you feel like, if a person really loves me, then they'll be willing to work with me. They'll be willing to get into the trenches with me and help me, work on my stuff. And you know what? That can very well be true. But I've been married for for over 38 years, and I know for sure that yes, a person may have the patience and the love to help you, but if you're a person who's not really willing to work on their stuff, or if you need a different type of help, you need another level, more professional type of help, and you're not willing to do that, there's only so much a person can deal with. Yeah. So keep that in mind. It is a gift of being single. Besides not having to answer to anybody and not having to cook for nobody or clean up after anybody and all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about that stuff, but I'm talking about having the opportunity, the solitude to work on you and to get you together before you join yourself to another person. That's the gift. That's the gift, that you don't have to bring trauma and drama into a relationship. But the relationship can be something so beautiful. Won't be perfect, but it can be something beautiful that both of you are willing to work on and grow in. So that's it for me tonight. I wanted to share that with y'all. Because I love my sisters and I love young people, and I've just been seeing folks get into these relationships for the wrong reasons. So look, just like there are some beautiful reasons to get married, there are some reasons, some really good reasons not to. So you just kind of sit with that. Think about it before you reject it. All right. You all take care and you all stay safe.
This episode is brought to you by Pyro Media Network, produced by Pyro Media Productions, setting brands ablaze since 2017. Thank you for listening.